Over here. Haven't made a video in a while. I've been focusing more on writing, uh, mostly on Reddit. If you're not familiar with the subreddit, then, well, I don't know how you found this video. But if you're not familiar with the subreddit, it's reddit.com/r/Chris Oliver Times, obviously. I wanted to finally finish the desert story because there is one little bit. Before I get into that, I just want to say today is June 2nd. Good old 2017, and the electricity in the air is crazy. Like, I see a lot of posts about the human resonance, and I know that is a measurement of the Earth's magnetic fields of some sort, that there are sensors across the world somehow or another reading these things, and they've been off the charts. And people have been saying things online for the last few days, how they feel more aggressive and more, I guess, just more aggressive, and I haven't really been feeling that. But I woke up this morning, and yeah, I'm definitely feeling it this morning. I've also gotten a little snippy at people online. Don't ask me if I'm a follower of Jesus. The answer is no. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to finish the desert story, just a little bit of it that I left out, and this part of the story fits in the day after, August 12th. This part of the story is about when I came home, and I've already spoken a bit about this day in part 3 of my desert videos, and if you haven't seen it, it's the shortest of them and probably the most bizarre and interesting of them. So if you haven't seen all that, you can listen to me describe that day in a little more detail. But one thing I didn't bring up when I was making those videos was about my housemate, was the man I share a home with. When I got home from the desert and I stumbled in the back door, just kind of in where his room is, which, alright, quick pan, slow pan. I'm assuming that's in frame. That's the door we're talking about right there. I stumbled in, and he jumped off his bed, and I mentioned this before, and he was so happy to see me, and he gave me a big hug, and it was, I was obviously happy and relieved to see him and be home, and my body at that moment started to heal, and I had to poop. So you've heard that part of the story. Still part of the story. So I left him be, and I went and I took care of that, and I just finally had, my first few moments of sitting down on the toilet and just being home, and then, like, realizing I had survived the ordeal. But again, talked about that last time. Then after I took care of that, I went and I took a very cool shower, at the end of which my housemate came in. He was still my housemate, and he was like, hey, your mother's here. My mother that I hadn't seen in a decade. Talked about that in the last video. So he witnessed that interaction. I can only imagine how it all seemed from his point of view. And then parts of the story are getting a little hazy because it has been a little over 9 months. He went to she left, and he went to take a shower, and there's no modesty in our house. He usually walks around the house naked, so I needed to ask him something, and I went into the bathroom while he was showering to ask him whatever it was, and he just had this really strange kind of blank expression on his face, like he'd never been in a shower before. Like it was just this Marvel weird new experience, like suddenly a cat was put in a human's body and stuck in a shower. It was weird, and so I was kind of like, huh? At that point, but I didn't say anything. I left him to finish his shower, and he got out and he got dressed, and when I saw him again, I was looking at him, and his nose was a little too far to the left. And this is my housemate. I know what his face looks like. I know real well what his face looks like. He's usually naked. I could pick his cock out of a lineup at this point. I'm very familiar with the look of this man, and his nose, I'm telling you, was a little bit to the left. And I just looked at him and I went, "Don, your nose, it's a little too far to the left." And he goes, "Oh, really?" And he kind of like goes into the bathroom to check it out, and he comes back and it's fine. And I'm just like, whatever. At this point, I'm not asking questions. My reality had completely just gone. Oh, by the way, you've been lied to your entire life. Everything you think's going on here is going on here, but because of a far deeper reason. And so I'm just like, all right, my housemate just fixed his nose in the mirror. Whatever. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna go for milk and bread. And I'm like, you do that. You go for milk and bread. Before I realized I couldn't drink milk. And he goes, and when he comes back, I open the door to the outside where he parks, and I open the door and I just flat out say, "Are you the man I know is Don?" And he looks at me and he says, "No." He actually admitted no. And so I'm like, all right, come inside, put away groceries, and I left him for a moment to do that, if I remember correctly, and then he went and sat down on his bed, which is where he hangs out a lot, and I went and joined him, and he told me that he came to the desert, and he knocked me out, and he raped me, and that he was very, very sorry for it. And it was such a big puzzle piece at the time. And this is someone who, this is someone my housemate, I love the old man. The old man loves me. He's not someone who would be trying to deceive me or play on me. I don't know where he went when this other entity took over him, but this other entity took over him. And it is the one and only time any of these demons have been honest with me. I mean, they will be anything but. This one just flat out told me, I knocked you out. That they knew where I was in the desert at all times, which is strange in itself. 'Cause I didn't have any electronics on me. Yeah, and I started putting other things together. A weird thing about my housemate is that he is a twin. He is not only a twin, but he was born on Leap Day back in 1940. And I used to think that was a hell of a coincidence, but I don't believe in coincidences anymore, so I don't know what to think of that, but I just know it's significant. And he is gay, but he is older generation, so he hasn't always accepted or acknowledged the fact that he's gay. And he's told me stories in the past about how when he was becoming more comfortable with his sexuality and he would go to gay establishments, he would often hear stories about how he'd been there before. And he always attributed that to his twin having gone there before him. But I don't think that's the case. I think this entity was using his body to go there, which is why when he found himself drawn to these places, it's because he had gone there before, and when people recognized him, it's because he'd been there before. To the best of my knowledge, this entity has not taken over my housemate again. I mean, I know there's been a time or two when he gets a little lustful, which isn't a normal part of our relationship, but I think he's being influenced a little by this entity, but I've never had conversations with this entity again. I've never just had that flat out honesty from any of them. Um, but really, if I personally needed any more assurance that cosmic fuckery is afoot, that was it for me. So, as I always say, strange days of fear, all we can really do is accept the reality we are presented, learn to laugh about it. I mean, cause come on, reality's become the most absurdist comedy routine I've ever seen. And stay tuned, stay happy, take care of the people around you. I love you all dearly. Be well.